Here at Summit, we build community. For us, this means surrounding yourself with the people who inspire you the most. It means creating friendships among like-minded individuals and accelerating these relationships with dynamic shared experiences. It doesn't matter what discipline you're in. What matters most is your passion and that you're striving to create positive change in the world. Summit is made up of entrepreneurs and artists, neuroscientists and musicians, nonprofit founders and global explorers, humble innovators and diverse thinkers from around the world. And for the past 7 years, we've worked to foster this community and have created environments that catalyze these relationships. We've gathered thousands in mountain towns, chartered ocean liners to secluded tropical islands, created temporary tent villages, and held events in our nation's capital, all with the purpose of creating a canvas to connect, educate, and inspire one another, and to help push the world forward to effect positive change. In order for a community to flourish and grow, it needs roots. So in April 2013, we purchased Powder Mountain in Eden, Utah, the largest ski mountain in America. It's here where we're building a town on top of our mountain. We fill this place with long table dinners, performances under the stars, mornings filled with untracked powder, and afternoon sessions led by experts across all industries. Since we've arrived, we've paved roads, laid infrastructure, built lodges, and dug wells. We've opened restaurants, installed ski lifts, constructed sculptures, and have been working hard to bring our village into reality. We gather a global community of thought leaders and innovators, and we are building the physical place we want to live and spend time in. We believe we all have the opportunity to be the change that we want to see in the world, and that anything is possible. So here's to the future.
Hi all, my name is Rose Maisner and I'm a partner at Renewable Tech Ventures. And on behalf of the entire Summit and Sorensen Impact Center team, we wanted to thank you for joining us for this demo day focused on organizations who identify in the cause area of environmental conservation and sustainability. And although we're not in person, you will have the chance to engage with the founders in the chat box, as well as a session in the Hubbolo room right after this broadcast has ended. Again, on behalf of our entire team, we're so honored to have you join us and thrilled to introduce you to these incredible founders.
Hello, my name is Juan Joladines and I'm the Impact Manager of Incamos. If I say the word Peru, I can bet that this is one of the first images that will come to your head. Machu Picchu, the city of the Incas. Deep in the Andes of Peru, this amazingly beautiful place is a key part of our culture and a point of pride for all Peruvians. Over the past decades, we have seen an exponential increase in the amount of tourists who come to Cusco to visit Machu Picchu. However, despite all the revenue that Peru has received from these visits, the indigenous people from the Andes still remain amongst the most vulnerable populations of my country. The Andean communities of Peru live in extreme poverty conditions, mainly due to a lack of opportunities to generate income aside from the traditional low-profit crops. This situation forces them to take radical measures to provide for their families that end up damaging the natural ecosystem of their lands. This has been a constant reality for decades, and for most of them, it was just the way things were and the way they were going to remain. In order to change the situation, we found a solution in the sustainable harvest of sphagnum moss. Inca Moss is a social enterprise created in 2010 that's dedicated to the sustainable production and export of sphagnum moss. In Peru, this plant grows throughout the Andean mountain range at over 3,200 meters above sea level, exactly where multiple rural communities are located, who were unaware of the moss's value and saw it as nothing more than a useless weed. We work hand in hand with them and train them in the correct methods of caring and harvesting the moss. By doing so, we transform them into our sole suppliers of raw materials and provide them with an opportunity to generate additional income inside their own communities that requires no special skills, tools, or investments from their part. Sphagnum moss is a plant that has three main properties. It can retain 20 times its weight in water, functions as a powerful natural antibacterial, and absorbs heavy metals. This combination makes it an interesting, unique plant with a surprising amount of uses. Its natural characteristics make it the most sought-after substrate on the horticulture market for the growing of orchids and berries. However, it can also be used for making vertical gardens, for decorative purposes, as the main component for natural water purification systems, and many more. Our model integrates the Andean communities, the state, and our clients with the work we do to ensure that all the involved stakeholders, along with the environment, are benefited by the harvesting. We are currently focused on supplying the horticulture market, and in this year alone, we made an annual turnover of $638,000, which represents 102 metric tons of Peruvian moss that was exported to 10 major clients in 3 different continents. Still, this turnover represents only 3% of the total size of the horticulture market. If we also consider the other markets in the equation, the result gives us an interesting opportunity for future growth. The 3 major suppliers of moss worldwide are Chile, New Zealand, and Peru. Even though each country has its own major representatives, Inca Moss is the only Peruvian company currently working with sphagnum moss. In comparison with New Zealand's moss, which has the highest quality at the highest price, and Chile's moss, which is the cheaper, but with lower quality, we offer a high-quality product at a competitive price. This makes us a great alternative for clients of all the existing markets. So far, we have impacted the lives of over 15,000 people in 35 different communities in the Junín region, increasing their regular income in approximately 27%. Additionally, 60% of all our harvesters are women. In an area where the idea that men are in charge because they bring the money to the table still lingers, moss harvesting has allowed the women to become an active part of their households' economies and change this antiquated perception. Our team is composed of a mix of settlers from the Andean region and experts in key areas, all moved by the ideal of spreading the impact amongst those who need it the most. As an example, we have Marco, who founded Inca Moss and has over 30 years of experience in business administration. There's also Dionisio, who is the former president of his community and spearheads the contact with the Andean settlers by telling them the story of how Huancamachay, his hometown, managed to thrive thanks to moss harvesting. And there's also me. Over the past 3.5 years, I have been working on managing the impact of Inca Moss, and I'm personally attached to this model due to the fact that my grandfather was born and raised in Junín, the same area where we are currently operating. We plan on expanding our operations to Cusco. Based on our experience with previous expansions, we will require a total amount of $190,000 to set up a complete processing plant and make the necessary arrangements with the communities of the area. This will allow us to increase our production capacity by 129%, our sales by 136%, and impact approximately 6,000 people from 15 different communities by the end of 2023. In Inca Moss, we believe that everyone deserves a chance to improve their life. That's why we're committed to continue working hard to replicate our model all over Peru and create a sustainable impact amongst our Andean communities. I thank you all for your time and attention, and I will be more than happy to hear your comments and answer any questions you might have.
Juanjo, thank you so much. That was a fantastic pitch. I love the concept and I'm really excited to learn more. So before we dive into some of the bigger questions, I just have one quick clarifying question. I just want to make sure I understand how the model works. So when it comes to the way in which you engage with the community members, do they become employees of the company, or do they, once they've been trained to harvest the moss, do they act as suppliers and you purchase the moss and then you act as kind of the intermediary and distributor and process and sell the moss to the customer?
Okay, well, that's correct. The communities that we work with, they are covering the role of suppliers. They are not direct workers of Incamos, because what we want to do is give them the chance to actually do the harvesting whenever it fit with their own schedules. Because aside from moss harvesting, they also work with their potatoes and other different crops that they have other responsibilities. So the harvesting of moss is an activity that they do when they have some free time or when they actually need to make some extra cash at the moment. So by them being only suppliers, they can do it whenever it's good for them, and they have no like relationship with a contract that is going to obligate them to do it like every single time that we need it, because we want them to have the freedom to make it easier and according to their own times. So yeah, they fit the role of the supplier for us.
That's great. Thank you so much. That's an excellent clarification, and I really like the aspect of the model. So my next question is kind of about the bigger picture and longer term expansion. And within that, I'm curious to know how, as you're planning on expanding the harvest side of things in Peru, how you make sure that there's enough kind of demand on the customer side, and how you are thinking about your expansion, either kind of continuing to capture more of the horticultural market and how you'll outcompete some of the Chilean and New Zealand incumbents, or if there are other verticals that you plan on expanding into in order to generate that kind of demand for the supply you'll now be producing.
Okay, so well, as I mentioned in the presentation, we have a very interesting product for all the people who are currently working with moss. And so as of now, the amount of moss that we can currently produce and sell to our customer is only 1/4 of the total demand that we get each and every year. And this has been a constant for the past 6-7 years, that all our customers ask us to send them even more moss that we can actually produce. So the expansion that we're planning with Cusco and all the other expansions that we have already done are not, we're not going to have to look for new customers in order to put that product on their plants, but we are going to actually be filling the demand that we already have. And so the demand in Cusco will help us to, all the production from Cusco will help us reach approximately 60% of the current demand that we have. So there's a lot of more room for us to grow in the future with new expansions and getting more moss from the communities and putting that on the final customer.
That's great. Well, that's always a good problem to have, more demand than you can keep up with. And so on a related note, what is the big kind of long-term vision for the company? Are there other regions in Peru that you plan on expanding into? And once you've caught up to the demand that you're currently seeing right now, do you have plans to expand into other markets? And how big do you think you can get?
Yeah, well, there is no definitely data about all the communities of the region, because it's a really, really complicated place to actually do a survey and get to know exactly how many people are living there. But from all the exploration visits and all the trips that we have done, we have summarized that there has to be around 1,000 communities in the whole area of the Andes where the moss is growing. And so we have had contact and work with around 50 so far. So there's a lot of room for us to take this model and scale it to different places all over the Andes of Peru, because that goes from south to north of the country. So we can take our model, scale it, put it in different places, and start benefiting all these people who actually need it because they have the same characteristic as the one that we're working with right now. They're in extreme poverty. They lack the opportunity to generate new sources of income, but they have moss growing around their lands. So there's a lot of things that we can do in the future, and we definitely are looking forward to continue increasing our impact and getting our model to even more.
Great, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Future does have a name, and its name is hope. A tiny flicker of light that feeds on hope is enough to shatter the shield of darkness. Mandulis delivers renewable energy and value-added services to address the many challenges faced by rural farming communities. These challenges are not only close to our hearts at Mandulis, but actually punctuate the story of my early childhood as a refugee in rural Africa. And the very hope that led me to rocket science as a career has brought me home to work with refugees displaced from the very same communities that once hosted me as I fled conflict. The reality is that over 1 billion people across the world lack access to electricity. The majority of those in Africa without electricity are farmers. For them, no electricity equals no agricultural processing. So they sell their crops straight from the fields at a minimum price. This perpetuates the cycle of poverty. On the other hand, billions of people cook using wood fuels. This burden is heaviest on women and children who walk 3 hours every day just scavenging for firewood. Now, while cooking with firewood, women and children are forced to inhale so much smoke. It's like smoking 2 packs of cigarettes each day. At Mandulis, we have the solution. We deliver productive energy that is affordable, reliable, and sustainable. We use biomass gasification to transform agricultural residues into electricity and clean cooking fuel. Our unique holistic approach to energy goes beyond electrons and links investment into electricity for urban areas with sustainable economic development in the surrounding rural communities. This differentiates us from other energy companies. We work in 16 locations across refugee hosting communities in Uganda, in East Africa, where we provide thousands of farmers with access to clean energy alongside services such as processing, warehousing, and access to markets. Farmers bring us their crops, which we process into higher value products. This alone doubles their income. The agricultural waste that remains is converted into electricity and clean cooking fuel. This is how Mandulis makes people's lives better. By increasing rural household incomes, we create a loop, seeding demand and supply. As farmers get wealthier, they farm more crops, they cook more, and use more electricity. This integrated approach delivers energy security alongside food security, poverty alleviation, and climate resilience. Our environmental impact is immense, and we continue to gain traction. Our founding team combines technical and operational expertise with the in-depth knowledge that comes from having lived as refugees. You may recognize our partners from across the globe who are committed to helping us achieve our vision. Among them are investors and funders who have contributed towards our over $5 million raised so far, and who will continue to anchor us with low-cost debt as we raise a further $5 million to $50 million in equity. Among them too are project partners who have helped us secure multiple long-term contracts worth over $40 million a year in future revenues. As we scale up, we wish to build synergies with even more partners, especially the food and beverage industry, to help meet energy needs and mitigate any sustainable supply chain shortfalls through sourcing processed crops aggregated from within the rural smallholder farming ecosystem and the refugee farming ecosystem as well. I now invite you, each of you, to go to ren.co and click on the Clean Cooking Fuel for Refugees page to learn more about our impact and hopefully consider offsetting your carbon footprints through supporting our work. We welcome you to join us on our journey to power a future of hope. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Peter. That was a fantastic presentation. Really love the model, and the food energy nexus is something that I personally am really excited about. And so love to see you tackling this in such a big way. I do have a couple quick questions and excited to learn more. So first, I'd love to start with the technology itself. So what kind of innovations have you developed that makes this possible to kind of be this link between the farmers and the processing piece of things, and then also providing a cleaner burning fuel for women and children specifically? Is there any kind of enabling technology that underlies the model that's proprietary? How does it all come together?
Thank you very much. So basically, our key technology is a combination of technologies. So we combine solar power generation with biomass gasification. So gasification of biomass is a very old technology. It's been around, kind of way beyond the diesel engine even, and that in effect kind of allows us to take agricultural waste, so corn cobs, rice husks, peanut shells, and gasify them into a synthetic gas, which runs a gas engine to produce electricity. So the technology is not proprietary, it's actually very old, but the way we design our business model is where the innovation is. It's a circular economy model where the agricultural value addition that we provide farmers uses the electricity that we generate from the waste that we get from the processing. So process ag, get the waste, generate electricity, and it goes in a loop. But also we do that in the rural communities where the farmers actually live, far away from the cities, far away from access to electricity or the internet. And that actually brings infrastructure to those communities. We do have our proprietary solutions within that in terms of how we arrange the system, how we, sequence the systems, which allows us to actually generate electricity at a much lower price than anyone else in the world is generating electricity off grid using the same technology. So it's kind of a blend of, some solar, some biomass, some battery storage, even electric vehicles. And we have software-based solutions that manage it all, deciding when it's switched on, when it's switched off, and the rest of that. And also connecting to all our tens of thousands of farmers as well. So that whole loop is managed by our proprietary software technology that enables these very simple technologies to actually go above and beyond.
Wonderful. That's incredibly helpful, and also really exciting to hear about the ways in which you've been able to apply what is, very time-tested technology in such an innovative way. So congratulations on that front. I want to talk a little bit about the market opportunity as well. So you mentioned 40 million in future revenues, and then, so are those from existing contracts? And then if so, what does that larger market opportunity look like? And you talked about 5 to 50 million equity raise. How does that help you get there? And what is that? To what extent does that allow you to scale and tap into this larger opportunity?
All right, awesome. So the 40 million a year in revenues I talked about are actually based on existing contracts. And we're not yet making those, kind of revenues because we haven't scaled up to all the 16 locations that we need to reach on the off-grid side to hit those sales, as well as the large grid-connected site that we are also developing. With regards to the future market potential, it's quite immense. We are already developing early stage, projects that we will scale up following this, allowing us to scale up 10 times where we are guaranteed at the moment. So we see future revenues of up to 400 million, every year, once we've scaled up to all the 10 countries around Africa that we began early stage development in. And that's kind of looking half of that is going towards electricity sales, and the other half goes towards the sale of all the other residues and the agriculture processing and so on and so forth. And our model is linked to guaranteed market for the finished product. If it's electricity, it's to a grid, and there's a long-term 20-year contract. If it's to factories, there's the cement plants, it's to the beverage industries, people such as the Coca-Colas of this world, the Diageos and so on and so forth, supplying into their supply chain, linking them directly to the farmers that supply us. The farmers get a better price for their product, and our market are able to purchase at a lower price. So it's kind of a win-win that we do, yes.
Wonderful. Well, it certainly seems like there is a lot of exciting potential and a huge opportunity, not to mention just tremendous impact. So thank you so much. This was great. I really enjoyed learning more about what you're doing, and hope to stay in touch and see how we can support you moving forward too.
Thank you very, very much. It's been a joy, and yeah, we look forward to reaching over 10 million farmers once we've spread to all the 10 countries.
Hi, good morning. My name is Simone Pisu, co-founder at Pesco. You know what it is? This is ceviche, the most iconic Peruvian fish dish. In Lima alone, there are 12,000 cevicherias and more than 9 million of fish lovers. But before any fish or seafood can be served on your plate, it passes through at least 5 to 6 intermediaries. With so many mouths to feed in the supply chain, Paco and thousands of officials like him typically receive the smallest piece of the pie. And restaurants and final consumers have no traceability and quality suffer. But why it is happening? The market is forcing fishers to overfish to make ends meet, generating a productive chain without value for nobody, while it's freezing the ocean too. Do you remember this game? Come on, what is the goal of this game? One winner, right? Grabbing all? Well, once I heard that if we would like to see another result in the monopoly game of seafood, we need to change the rules. Pesco is the first Peruvian bistro fishmonger that is redesigned seafood supply chain in Peru by empowering fishers and connecting them directly to the market. We sell gorgeous fresh fish and seafood in our shop and by delivery by applying a transparent 100% traceable seafood supply chain business model where fishers only have to worry about fishing and we take care of the rest, including logistics and sell through a cool brand. Working with us, fishers receive between 20 to 30% more profit than if they sell through the traditional sale process. But the most important thing at Pesco is that we believe in people. We believe in the potential of relationship between chefs, artisanal fishers, and final consumers in order to share the same sustainable seafood consumption patterns to the market. We know that it's possible to be profitable while we are generating a good balance between ocean sustainability, great seafood, and fair wages for fishers, executing action that prepare the seafood supply chain for the future. We're training fishers in sustainable fishing practices and including fishers as former providers of Pesco. Pesco is the result of the commitment and passion of its three co-founders. Pedro Miguel Schiaffino, recognized Peruvian chef, Patrick Huger-Kane, economist focused on sustainable development, and I, marine biologist with 15 years of experience working with coastal communities. In less than 1 year, we made relationship build on trust with more than 200 fishers as providers. With 2,000 customers, we are opening the second shop. But we have several challenges to face. We need to improve our logistics, scale our impact in business, 10 shop in 3 years, and 1,500 fishers as providers, implementing technology-based solution for traceability. But the good news is that the sustainable consumption of seafood is growing, and the difference between the past and the present of seafood supply chain is your choice. At PESCO, we make this task easier than ever. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Simone. That was a wonderful pitch, really interesting. And there's so much more that I would love to hear about. But just to clarify, I would love to learn a little bit more about how the model works. So how exactly are you able to cut out all of these intermediaries? And are there any innovations that you've developed that allows you to be the link directly from the fisherman to the chef? You mentioned something about a technology-based solution for traceability. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about that, if it's proprietary, and if so, how you've protected that intellectual property.
Thank you, Rose, for the question. We don't have actually we don't have a technology for our own, but we are thinking about to implement technology from Portugal that connect fishers and the final consumers directly through a mobile app and a digital marketplace platform. And
Great.
basically, we are in charge to connect the both sides of the chain, fishers and the market.
Fantastic. So you can provide the infrastructure and the link and help with the adoption on the fisherman side.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
And all the capacity building to transfer the technology, the use of technology in a proper way.
Got it. That's fantastic. So I'd love to hear more then about the economics of your model. So how do you make money, first of all? And then you mentioned in the pitch about how this improves profits that are earned by the fishermen. But what about the price point for the restaurants? Is it the same as what they're paying now? Is it more expensive or less expensive than current fish prices?
Yeah. Thank you, Rose, for the question, because probably it wasn't clear in my pitch, but we make money adding a percentage of each sale. Respect the price at the shore level. We buy in a certain price to the fishers, and we added the 30% to 60% more when we sell the product, the raw product. But we have a whole range of products because we to promote a responsible consumption, we promote the use of the whole fish. We make I don't know some dish in the fishmonger, because it's a bistro fishmonger place, and we make money selling this product and this dish to the final consumers.
Great. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Jonas Lessa, and I'm the CEO at Retalhar. Retalhar is a Brazilian B Corp that enables responsible, innovative, and inclusive management of textile waste. The world is producing the equivalent of a truckload of textile waste per second, and only 3% is recycled. I worked as environmental manager in a uniform industry, and then realized that 80,000 tons of professional uniforms are discarded every year in Brazil. Here, criminals usually disguise themselves as if they were employees, using uniforms to rob companies or its customers. the companies sold have the immediate solution: burn it. This does not solve the problem, but rather spreads it through all of us. If social media was a point of pressure for CSR consistency, the pandemic has turned sustainability into a must-be the core. Now, risky is to keep doing the same. Guaranteeing security, we create new lives for old uniforms. As powerful communication and awareness tools, our projects and products add value to the waste generators brands. Our main competitors are co-processing and landfills, donation receivers, and corporate gifts producers. More than just being pioneers, we stand out for being able to take care of all the uniforms and for an intimate relationship with customers. We offer waste generators the following possibilities: the correct and safe destination of uniforms, recycling it into popular blankets, and upcycling products such as eco bags and backpacks. During the 6 years, more than 100 companies were served by Retalhar, 57 only in 2020. In terms of traction, we have been consistently growing even during pandemic. We have very satisfied customers with an NPS of 100% and an annual recurrent revenue around $130,000. We must invest in communication in order to add reputational value to our B2B customers, exploring more our strength compared to competitors, and also changing our brand positioning from waste manager to the expert in circular economy applied to uniforms. Beyond more customers, we will then strengthen relationship with current ones. By my side in this journey, I have Lucas Corvacho, co-founder, which families owns a 25 years old uniform industry. Leonardo Carvalho, that has more than 10 years of experience as a designer working with low-income seamstresses, and Carlos Eduardo Teixeira, a production engineer with MBA in project management that worked at more than 10 years at Mitsubishi Motors. We still didn't converted any of the top 20 Brazilian employers, which together discard around 900 tons per year. So there is a huge opportunity. With and for current and new customers, we have plans to also offer consulting services, the development of circular products, and B2B2C products. Our current business model is B2B only. We work in partnership with seamstresses co-ops and other industries to make new products. Transportation is also outsourced. The reverse manufacturing process is the only phase that is made by our own. More than just surviving the pandemic, we are still growing, getting stronger, and identifying opportunities to reduce costs without giving up the social impact. Firstly, I recognize that there is such a gap that we need help to better structure expansion plans. Also, we are seeking $100,000 to invest on HR, communications, and R&D. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Jonas. That was a wonderful, wonderful pitch. I'm really excited to learn more. To start with, can you tell me a little bit more about the model itself? I just want to make sure I understand correctly. So are the companies who dispose of the uniforms the same as the ones who then commission blankets and other corporate goods, or are the material suppliers and those who purchase the gear two different customer sets?
Yeah, thanks for asking. The current business model is like that, closing the loop. So the products made from the uniforms are always directed to the company that generated the waste. So it is always, we just make the products when it is demanded by the companies. There is an opportunity to expand it to go to the B2C market, the B2B2C market, to offer the products to other companies. That's a possibility. Actually, we did it sometimes in special with special partners, but that's not part of the current business model. And as I told, that's something that maybe I can have some help to structure better, how to expand and how to choose the best opportunity to explore.
Great. Thank you. That's really helpful, and seems like there are a lot of exciting opportunities for expansion there. I'm also curious about the innovation behind the model. Is there anything proprietary about the manufacturing process or any other elements of this system that you've developed?
Yeah, actually, it's the core innovation, and the first innovation is the reverse manufacturing process that enables us to recycle the materials. Before we go to the market, the only possibility to repurpose the uniforms was companies and organizations that produces corporate gifts from upcycled uniforms. And the problem is that if they will do 200 backpacks, they will take from the waste generators just 200 pieces of pants. That is the amount they need to produce the 200 backpacks. And they don't care, and that's not their issue to solve the other 2 tons of uniforms that the company should have. One big company, just to let you know, one big company in Brazil will produce like 10 tons of uniforms and discard it every year. So that's the point.
Wow. Well, that's a good segue into my next question about the market opportunity. So it sounds like you have a great handle on the opportunity and the size of it in Brazil and who those top employers are. But how are you thinking about the total market opportunity? And do you have plans to expand beyond Brazil and into some international markets as well?
Yeah, of course. Actually, we want to be where the problem is. But in Latin America is our goal, because there is a social issue more than the environmental global issue. Here we have the opportunity to create social value using our process as a tool to make inclusive labor, if I can say like that. So that's something I want some help also to better structure, as I told, the expansion plans, because there is a lot of opportunities and we need to focus on just a field.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. That was really helpful. And again, it sounds like there's so much opportunity out there, lots of exciting plans for expansion. And I absolutely look forward to staying in touch and seeing how we can be of help with that.
Thank you, Rose.
Hi, my name is Tyler Sickles, and I'm the founder and CEO of SoulGrow. SoulGrow is a greenhouse technology company that's been specializing on developing new greenhouse plastics that are able to increase crop production, decrease harvest time, and increase overall yield for farmers around the world. And the problem that we're addressing is the 1.2 million acres of greenhouses around the world. So you've got thousands and thousands of square feet of these plastic hoop houses and traditional greenhouses that are used to grow food for cash crops and other different types of produce. And the issue that we're going to be coming across over the next 50 years is global warming and need to increase the amount of food production by up to 70% by 2050. And then you also have growers who are growing cash crops such as cannabis that are going to have smaller and smaller margins. So we need to find ways to increase the amount of productivity for these farmers. So the solution that we've developed is a greenhouse canopy, or plastic covering, or glazing as you would call it, that covers the roof, allows natural sunlight to come in, and then actually pushes out the light that's actually needed for the crop. So plants traditionally only need red and blue light to grow. So if you're looking at the full wavelength of light, if you're looking at a prism, say from your high school science projects, elementary school even, where you have white light come through and then it splits off to the rainbow. Well, plants really only use the red and the blue ends of those spectrums for growing. So what we can do is we can take that wasted light, so the green, the yellow, those orange bands, and we can push those into the red and blue spectrum. So the IP defensibility that we've been able to obtain is we've got 3 patents that are exclusively licensed from the University of Texas at Arlington. We've got patents that have been filed under SolGrow specifically, and we really have a solid grasp of what our IP protects, how it affects the plants, then also our manufacturing methods that can be used for our nanoparticles and other applications. So the results that we've seen so far have been pretty outstanding. We're seeing about a 20% decrease in harvest time for cannabis crops. We've been doing testing in larger facilities, such as a company called Eden Green in Cleburne, where we saw that there is a big increase in the overall productivity of the crops. Say, for example, for lettuce, if you're getting an average of 1 gram per lettuce head, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider that there's 1,200 lettuce heads per row, and there's hundreds of these rows in these industrial vertical greenhouse facilities, that equates to thousands and thousands of dollars in increased production every 12 weeks. So the ROI for our plastic is we're coming in at about 25 cents a square foot for our pilots. It will end up being above that, probably closer to 50 for our large scale production runs. But even at a dollar square foot average, if you look at the amount of money that cannabis producers are going to make after they purchase our material, year 1, they'll be making an additional $30,000. And even strawberry producers will be making an additional $3,700 for the first year after using our equipment. So the total addressable market we're talking about right now is massive. So like I said, 1.2 million acres of greenhouses, which is increasing 15% year over year for the past 5 years. So it keeps growing. You're looking at 50 billion square feet globally, $15 billion, 160 million SAM, and then we've got about $10 million in potential revenue by year 3. Our go-to-market is what we're doing is we were going to trade shows. Now we can't really do that due to COVID, but we're hitting up as many people as we can online. We're doing an organic growth for farmers so we can build up our white paper data to really take to those large-scale distributors that are going to be key in expanding our business. Traction, we've had pilots in Oklahoma, California, Oregon, Texas. We've won SBIR grants. We just got a phase 1 from USDA. We've gotten our manufacturing partners engaged, and we're really doing really well. We just completed Thrive, one of the most prestigious agriculture accelerators in Silicon Valley this past cohort season. So the team that makes this happen, we've got Darlene Boudreau, who's our CFO. She's been through a couple exits from her pharmaceutical company. She was the founder of Cowtown Angels, which was an investor of ours. Got myself, who's had multiple startup experience. Dr. Sunil Sai and Wei Chen, who are our PhDs in nanophysics and luminous materials. And then James Talavera, who's our chief engineer. So what we're asking for you guys today is pilots. We're going to be building our team, and we're starting our seed round here, Q1 into Q4. So I really look forward to talking to you guys. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Tyler. That was wonderful. Really, really interesting tech, definitely solving some big problems for our farming community and the food shortages we definitely are going to see coming down the line. So really excited to learn more. I do have a couple quick questions to start off with just about the technology itself. So as far as like the install, maintenance, durability, functional lifespan, how does it stack up against the existing plastic covers? Is it same, better, worse?
So our technology is going off the same durability lifespan. So it's still going to last 4 years. You're going to have issues if you have a hailstorm, but our plastic is manufactured the same way as traditional polyethylene films right now. So 4 to 5 years is our duration. And so we're very excited that we have a product that's going to last in the field a long time, and then also to give that extra growth rate season after season.
That's great. And you mentioned a number of patents. Congrats. That's fantastic. Can you just tell me a little bit more about what aspects of the technology itself are proprietary and are covered by those patents? If it's the materials, any part of the manufacturing process, I'd just love to learn a little bit more about what your IP covers.
Yeah, so our IP covers our manufacturing process for our nanomaterials and then how we embed them in our plastics. And then on top of that, the big thing with the luminous like nanomaterials that we're using is degradation rate. So we have ways to encapsulate our nanoparticles to make sure they stay brighter longer, that they're brighter than anything else, like potentially on the market, even in like other nanoparticle based technologies. And the good thing too about our patents is they don't just cover for the agriculture space, but they cover our manufacturing process for any industry. So any industry making quantum dots or nanophosphors, they can use our patents.
Wow, that's great. And my other question was whether or not it's still a plastic-based material, which you did answer. So for all intents and purposes, it kind of looks and feels like what farmers are used to, but has all these other amazing properties.
It does. And the thing with that too is that we can embed our nanoparticles in any substrate. So whether it be acrylic or polycarbonate, or we can do window tinting for glass. So right now we're manufacturing for polyethylene just because it has the larger market size and we can help more people that way. But for any other product, we can put our nanophosphors in anything. So that's part of our IP.
That's fantastic. So you mentioned just at the end there, kind of teased a seed round. So how much are you raising? And can you tell me a little bit more about the use of funds and what sort of kind of milestones it'll help you get to?
Yeah, so we're going to be raising a $2 million seed round. A big part of that is to scale our manufacturing processes, bring on some sales and marketing people, and then do some in-house testing for our plants. The big thing for the ag space is we really need to get us broad and really help get us over the finish line. And since we're a hardware manufacturer or a hardware startup, right, we need more capital than somebody just building an app in their basement. We actually have equipment to buy and that type of thing. And I have some samples of our plastic that we've done right now. As you can see, it's kind of got that pink hue to it from the natural sunlight.
That's great. Well, very quickly, if you could just tell me a little bit more about the competitive landscape. I think that was my only other big question.
Yeah, so the competitive landscape, we're currently competing against traditional plastics, and they usually run about 7 to 10 cents a square foot. But all that does is cover your crop, right? So it's just for weather protection. What we're able to do is we're coming in about 25 cents a square foot, but when you're looking at the overall cost of a build of the structure, it sounds like it's a multiple, but the issue is we're less than 1% of the cost of a build for the structure. So we're competing against traditional plastics. Then we have one actual technology competitor called UbiGrow, and what they're doing is a different type of nanoparticle, and they're emitting orange light. So it will work for plants, but not as efficiently as us going directly to that 650 nanometer red light range and getting the best plant growth possible. So.
Wonderful. That's really helpful. Well, thank you so much. Again, fantastic presentation, and looking forward to seeing more from you guys in the near future.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Rose.
Yeah.
Look at all the solutions presented today. This makes me so optimistic for the future. And wow, like those were amazing. And I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Each fellow has their own room in the Hubbelow room function. So those will open up shortly where you can go and meet the fellows, ask them questions, and get to know their work on a deeper level. Again, each one has their own room, their own Hubbelow room function, and they'll be opened up shortly. So please go in there and meet the fellows and ask them questions and get to know them on a really deep and meaningful